Welcome to the Pump Take Sports Show. Today we have a special episode, a Thanksgiving episode. We're all Canadian, so really it's not a holiday for us, but it almost is a holiday because we get two football games on a Thursday instead of one football game on a Thursday. So we're going to be talking about the two games tomorrow. Unfortunately, the Steelers-Ravens game was canceled. So we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans versus the Detroit Lions and the Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys in a matchup for the division. That NFC East division is looking a little tight this year, eh?
Yeah, it's looking super tight. It's anybody's division right now. I think the winner of the game will have the division lead. At least until Sunday when the Giants and I think the Eagles play on Monday, but yeah, it's gonna come down to the wire. We'll talk about it when we get into the WFT Cowboys game a little bit more, just in terms of what I think is going to happen in the game and in the division consequently. But yeah, I wanted to start with, if it's cool with you guys, with the Texans at Lions game.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the first game tomorrow at 12:30.
Yep.
So the Texans are 3-point favorites in this game, which makes sense to me. The Lions are pretty banged up. Kenny Galladay is going to be out. Swift is questionable. Stafford's playing with that hurt thumb. And of course they were shut out last week. The Lions were, against PJ Walker of all quarterbacks, and all teams for that matter. With the Panthers. But I mean, do you want to break down the game, or do you want to just get right into the betting aspect?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can talk about the game a little bit. I think DeAndre Swift is trending towards not playing tomorrow. Obviously, I don't have a for sure answer for you guys right now, but the way it's looking, he has a questionable status, but I could see him not playing. And Kenny Galladay being out, that really hurts the Lions too. Especially when Stafford, like you said, is already banged up. They're going to have a hard time moving the ball down the field tomorrow. And I think the Texans defense, it's of course not amazing, but I personally, I'm going to pick the Texans tomorrow to win the game and probably cover the spread. Nothing against the Lions. I think they're a fine football team, but the Texans are my pick tomorrow. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm in the exact same boat with you there. We're on the same page this time after splitting the Cardinals Seahawks last week. Just with you're getting the better QB by far. Watson is quietly playing like a top 3 QB, and Stafford is, let's just say he's not playing like a top 3 QB. He has that hurt thumb, like you were saying. Weapons are banged up. Swift was becoming like the engine of the Detroit offense, and he was just randomly concussed in the middle of the week. And so he's trending like he's not going to play, like you said. Galladay's been out for weeks, and they just haven't been the same. I'm going with the Texans. What about you, Gil?
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys, just based on the points that you were saying. Like, Stafford's playing with that hurt thumb. His weapons are banged up. So this is a game where I think the Lions are really going to have a tough time moving the ball down the field. And normally, in terms of the actual game and in terms of betting, this would trend towards a game where they have to possibly rely on their rushing game a little bit more. But the Lions' rushing game is terrible. They're 29th in the league in rushing yard, 28th in attempts, and 25th in yards per attempt. So, I don't see a scenario in this game where the Lions are really able to get a lot going on offense against the Texans defense that isn't actually, it's not very bad. So yeah, I completely agree. I think the Texans are going to win and cover.
Yeah, and with the Texans pass rush too. I mean, it's kind of funny the Lions have such a bad running game considering they draft DeAndre Swift, they sign Adrian Peterson, they still have Kerryon Johnson. You would think somewhere amid those 55 running backs they have, they'd be able to string some sort of running game together, but unfortunately the Detroit curse continues for running backs. But absolutely, yeah, I can see the Texans winning as well.
Well, yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. I had it written in my notes here. The Lions, they emphasize the run so much in that organization, and it never worked. It never seems to work for them. Like, I get Swift is out, and he was, like I said, he was becoming a big part of their offense. But even the Lions' run defense, it's terrible. And you might think because the Texans, they have a sneaky good pass defense with Bradley Roby there as their number one corner, but their run defense is probably the worst in the league. But the Lions, they aren't going to be able to take advantage of that with if Swift is out, and even if Swift is in there, if Stafford and the passing game aren't playing well, they aren't able to move the ball down the field. The running game isn't going to be able to get going. They aren't going to be able to play off each other that way. And the Lions are going to try and run the ball no matter what. But I just don't think they're going to be able to keep pace with the Texans and Deshaun Watson and those playmakers. Like, they should be able to light up the Lions secondary, even without Cobb and Stills, who are going to be out for this game as well. The Lions defense is definitely worse in all facets than the Texans defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okudah and Trufant, their offseason investments at cornerback, they're not working out. So yeah, I think there's value on the Texans at -3. You're getting the healthier team, better offense, even if they are on the road. I think you're getting value there on the Texans, like I said. The line did start out at +1 for the Texans, but a lot of people are betting on them. So I saw somewhere that 70% of the money's coming in on the Texans. So it pushed it out to that key number, but I still like the Texans. I don't see how, like we were saying, that the Lions are going to be able to score points and stay in this game.
Yeah, exactly. And Deshaun Watson's magic doesn't necessarily specifically come from Randall Cobb and Kenny Stills. So he will be able to move the ball down the field without those guys there. Obviously, it'll be a little tougher, but he will still be able to move the ball. And like you said, the Lions just won't be able to keep up. So, Aiden, did you have any player parlays for this game?
Yeah, I had a couple listed here. So to kind of go with what we were saying, the first one that I like the most is Deshaun Watson over 2.5 passing touchdowns at +150. I just think that is great value. I think the Lions defense, they haven't been able, they weren't able to stop PJ Walker last week, who, he's coming from the XFL looking like the XFL MVP. Definitely not what you want to see as your starting quarterback, but he basically lit them up outside of 2 red zone picks.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you put Deshaun Watson in there, I can see definitely him getting 3 touchdowns in this game. As a matter of fact, I think Okudah's out, so it's just going to be Trufant and Warrior there. So yeah, just burnt toast with Fuller and Cooks. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Fuller, the next one I had was Will Fuller at least 1 touchdown at +110.
That's great.
He hasn't had a touchdown in a few weeks. I don't think he had one last week. So it just feels like in this game it's going to be a big Will Fuller game.
Mm-hmm. Especially with Stills out, as you said, and Cobb. I mean, they're going to be putting Will Fuller all over the field. So yeah, I could absolutely see that one coming through as well.
For sure. And then I have his receiving yards prop up here. I don't think I'm going to bet that, but it just feels like it's definitely something you could bet. 73.5 receiving yards. I could see betting the over on that. For sure. He's going to have to lean on Fuller, like you said, and Cooks. So I could see this being a big Fuller game.
Yeah.
And then I did have one flyer in here, just one last one before we move on to what you were going to say there. Darren Fells, at least 1 touchdown, +250. Big red zone weapon.
You got to think with some of the weapons out, big old Darren Fells might just fall into the end zone or kind of catch like a little end zone fade there. That's a good one as well. And I was going to say about the Will Fuller receiving yards thing. It's kind of the same thing with the Andy Isabella thing that we were talking about last week. Is all it really takes is one big play. And the great thing about this game is that he can also be used in the slot as Randall Cobb's not being there. And so there's a lot of ways that he can rack up those 75 yards or 79 yards, either one. Just 75, 79. There's lots of ways that he can rack either of those numbers up. So yeah, no, those are all great player bets. And we'll be keeping track of them tomorrow and letting all the viewers know how they go through on our Instagram at Pump Take Sports. At Pump Take Sports.
Follow up. Yeah, just before we move on to the next game, I did want to mention briefly the over under, which is 51, which seems really high for this game. Like, it makes sense when you're looking at the defenses, and theoretically there should be 2 solid offenses with the Lions and the Texans. But like we were saying, just to repeat it again, the Lions offense is not what it normally is right now. They're banged up. Stafford isn't playing well. Even before he hurt his thumb, he was pretty up and down this year. So I just think it's too risky. The Texans can definitely score 30 plus points. But yeah, I just don't think the Lions are going to be able to carry their weight. So yeah, I would advise a no bet there. Do you guys have any lean on the over under?
You said it was 51, right?
51, yeah.
I could see a scenario where betting the under on that could have some value in it, just purely because the Lions could have a game where they can't really get anything going on offense. Yeah. So if you're going to parlay that with other things, I feel like it could be a fairly safe ad, because I think Detroit's going to struggle on offense in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. I think you look at that bet two ways. Like I said, I'm not going to bet it, but I think you look at it one of two ways. Like you said, you bank on Detroit putting up another stinker 2 weeks in a row on offense, or you bank on basically this turning into a shootout, the Lions kind of bouncing back, and sort of the bad defense showing itself against definitely two better offenses on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's basically it's a coin flip.
Yeah, and that's why it's a no bet, right? Is because when you're flipping a coin in a situation like that, it's better off just to not bet it. And normally hammer the over, but not in this game, because going to be lots of bad offense in this game, other than on the Texans side. So I just can't see the Lions would pretty much have to score, in my opinion, like over 20 points.
Yeah, so that that's what I'm thinking.
Pretty much 3 touchdowns, right? So
yeah,
I mean, how are they? I just can't see them scoring 3 touchdowns tomorrow. I really.
And one thing we forgot to mention is Amendola also out. So these points got to come from somewhere, and we've seen Stafford make it work with like Marvin Hall. Yeah. And stuff before, but it just doesn't seem like
Jones game also for the player props. Could be a big Marvin Jones game tomorrow with all those weapons out. I could see that happening. And with that, I think it's safe to move on to the NFC East matchup, the classic Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving game, like it is every single year. The Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys for the NFC East to host a playoff game, maybe one day down the line in the playoffs. What are you thinking about this game as a resident Giants fan here, Aiden?
Yeah, so like we were saying at the beginning of the video, the NFC East is completely 100% up for grabs by all 4 teams, but not in the NFC West fashion, as in the complete opposite way. As a matter of fact, every team has 3 wins. This game's for the division, at least until the Eagles and Giants play. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about you guys, your guys' opinion on this. I have my opinion on who I think is going to win the NFC East. As a Giants fan, obviously, I have a close relationship with that division. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get your guys' take, what you guys both think. Who's gonna be hoisting that NFC East championship come the end of December?
Kayla, you can go ahead. I'll go second.
So let me preface by saying I'm not really familiar with like the remaining strength of schedule for the rest of the NFC East teams, but like I think a lot of teams like the Cowboys, the Giants, and the footballers they're all kind of very even, and the wins could just come just based on whoever they play, right? Like in my opinion, and I've said this to you guys like even before the season started in the summer, that I thought the Eagles were going to win this division coming into the season, because I just think that on paper, before the Cowboys got hurt, obviously now that they should be the best team in the division. But as we've seen so far this year, like Carson Wentz hasn't performed up to standards at all. And the Eagles are winning a lot of losing a lot of games against bad teams that a team that's going to win the division should be winning. So I think that the Eagles will still sneak out enough wins to probably take this division, but I could still see it going anyway.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So as well as Kale picking the Eagles before the season, it was the 3 of us speaking about this, and me and Aiden both picked the Cowboys to win the division. Obviously, this is before the Dak injury. For obvious reasons, the Cowboys offense just looked amazing, but that doesn't matter anymore. Dak is gone. Andy Dalton is the QB, and that changes things a little bit. And where we're sitting right now, I actually could see the Washington football team winning this division this year. I think the pass rush that they have is just unbelievable. Their defensive line's great. And you've seen them beat teams, or at least be in close games with teams that they have no right being in a close game with. And it's not a type of season where you need to win, 8 games to win the division, right? You only need to win a couple games, because I can see the Eagles continuously dropping games somehow, even with Carson Wentz, as Kale was saying. And of course, you have the Giants. And as my good friend is a Giants fan. I hope that they can do well. I just don't know how that Giants offensive line is going to do against the football team, have that matchup come, like when that matchup comes across. And yeah, I mean, same thing with the Cowboys. They have a banged up offensive line. And I think the Washington offense is better than it gets a little bit of credit for. I think they can move the ball down the field. I think they do have some weapons on that team. And so I would say right now, my pick is the Washington football team. How about you, Aiden?
Yeah, that's a great point about the Washington offense. I will say I do think it's kind of, it is really predicated on two guys, to be honest with you, but they can move the ball more than you think. When you think Washington football team, at least when I think about them, I think, a solid D line, better than expected secondary, but I'm not thinking offense. But they are able to move the ball better than you would think, especially now with Alex Smith. And I will say, just to hit on what Kale said, he's absolutely right about the strength of schedule. I think that is going to be 100% one of the biggest factors into who wins this division. They have a very similar schedule, all four of the NFC East teams. Obviously, they play each other a few more times. But the Giants and Reds, or not I almost said the R word there. The Giants and the football team played their games, but there's a few more games to play between each other. But the easiest strength of schedule for the rest of the season of all four teams is the Dallas Cowboys. And personally, I think they should be treated as the favorite to win the division, and also to take down the football team on Thanksgiving. As much as it pains me to say, I hate the Cowboys. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan. I really wish that they could, take the division crown, as easy as it might be to do that this year. But yeah, I just don't think we've seen enough from the Giants. Like if you told me that the Giants were going to play as well as they've played these past 2 weeks for the rest of the season, I would pick them. But I just don't think that's going to happen, or at least it's too early to say that's going to happen. And I just think the Cowboys are the best team. They were obviously, like we were saying, the favorite before the season. And even though they lost Dak, they're getting healthier more generally, at least. And I think a lot of people did overreact to the Cowboys games early in the Dak injury era, so to speak. And as they adapt to having Dalton out there as the starter, coming off the bye, easy remaining schedule, they play I can't remember who specifically they play, but I know teams like the Eagles and the Giants, they play like the Ravens and the Seahawks each. The Eagles play the Saints. Like that's going to be tough. The Cowboys don't have as many of those matchups. But yeah, as for this game, I like them here at home at Jerry World on Thanksgiving, the annual Cowboys home Thanksgiving matchup.
Yeah.
They lost the last game against the football team when they were hitting the peak of their sort of downward spiral. But I think they bounce back here. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree with that. Just what you just said. I think that this team is already. I think they've already reached their low point of the season, and it can only really go up from here. Particularly their offensive line. Last week was an aspect that I feel improved a lot. They set season high records in the rushing game, and they seem to be able to protect Dalton a lot better, as he managed to throw for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it seems that as time goes on and they figure out how that unit is going to respond to like the various injuries that have happened there, that the offense is going to be able to get going a lot better than it was previously in the season.
Yeah, I 100% agree about the O-line. They moved Zach Martin out to right tackle, which was very interesting, but that seemed to kind of shore things up a little bit. Jake, I know you were saying how much you like this Washington football team D-line. What do you think about this game?
And I'm all Washington this game, which makes it fun because I don't know. I see Washington marching into this game after a win last week, and I can see this defense just being hungry for that Andy Dalton offense. Very rarely does a defense that aggressive and good come against a team that is just so easy to tear apart. And all it takes for the Cowboys is a few bad drives at the beginning of the game, and things just start to crumble later in the game. I think if they don't come out hot tomorrow, they're going to have a hard time getting anything going. And Zeke sucks, so that doesn't even matter at all. Yeah, it's a football win for me tomorrow. And this is a big, game. It's kind of fun that all of us have different NFC East victors. And this is a big win for my future NFC East victor, the Washington football team. Also funny if they win in their season where they're called the Washington Football Team.
Honestly, they might keep that name, which I heard, which I kind of love.
I would love if they kept that name. It's honestly grown on me. Like, they become just affectionately known as the Footballers, and I'm into it.
I don't think they could pick a name that people would like more, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it bloomed into something that I don't know if they can stop among the fans of the NFL.
Yeah, they definitely weren't expecting that when they came up with the football team. But,
absolutely. Do you have any player props for this game tonight?
Yeah, that's the next thing I was going to say. So, quickly, the football team have a sneaky solid secondary. I just wanted to say, but the big reason why I think the Cowboys are going to win is because I think that their wide receiver group matches up well with their secondary, and that's sort of been one of Washington's biggest strengths. You think of the defensive line with Chase Young, and that's definitely been a strength, but their defense as a whole has been solid.
Yes.
And I think Dallas can kind of counteract that with their strength, with those wide receivers and with the improving O-line. I think that trend continues, and that's. I just wanted to quickly say that's why I'm taking the Cowboys -3 in this game. I wouldn't bet this game. I'm not going to bet this game myself like I already have bet on the Texans. But I just wanted to get that out there because I think if you are going to bet the game, the Cowboys are the side to be on. As far as player props go, I'll start with the first one, which I like the most. Terry McLaurin over 78.5 receiving yards. He went off against the Cowboys in the first game. Yeah. Obviously, the Cowboys defense has been notoriously bad this year. We saw a little bit of improvement out of the bye week, but it's still going to be one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to continue this game. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, completely agreed, man. Like, there was some improvement, but this defense, you just watch it every week, and it just doesn't have anything really going for it. I mean, of course, they stepped up a little bit, but I could see this Washington Football Team offense actually playing quite well against this defense, and they're not going to be able to stop Terry McLaurin tomorrow. I'd be shocked if they stop. I would be shocked if Terry McLaurin doesn't have over 50 receiving yards tomorrow, at least. So I think the 70 is for sure good, but they're not going to be able to slow him down completely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's just one of those things. He's been one of the most consistent things about the football team over the course of the season, and you don't expect that to stop against this Cowboys secondary. The next one that I have here is a little bit more on the fence, and that's Antonio Gibson under 55.5 rushing yards. And there's a very specific reason why I think this is good to hit. Well, first of all, it's hard to bet against Gibson right now. He looks amazing.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
One of the best rookie running backs, no question about it. And especially against, like we were saying, this garbage water Dallas defense. It's hard to bet against such a low number. But the reason why I say this is because I think the Washington Football Team is going to be trailing in this game. And you know what that means. If you've played fantasy at all, you know that means J.D. McKissic is going to be on the field.
Yeah.
Playing those passing snaps.
My boy JD.
Your boy, helped you get a few fantasy wins there.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, and with that negative game script for the rushing attack, it's like we say, it's going to be a lot of JD McKissic, and I don't think Gibson is going to, unless he breaks off a big run, which he has done. I don't think he's going to get enough volume on the ground to reach that number.
Which is another great thing about the football team, too, that I didn't even mention when I was just kind of talking about how good their team is. That running back tandem that they have has been very effective this year in two different – when they're behind, they can play J.D. McKissic, as you said, and it's been effective this year. If you just look at how J.D. McKissic's been playing, and then you look at Antonio Gibson, and, of course, he's been amazing, right, which was a great steal in the draft for the football team, a good young running back, fresh legs, and, yeah, I like that bet a lot.
I will say like they have been effective together on that team, and I'm a little biased because I own Gibson in fantasy in two of my biggest leagues. I'm a big fan of his, but I think he was a college receiver. I think they should be using him more in the passing game, even if it's at the expense of JD McKissic. Like, I know he's a great pass blocker and he's valuable for that, but Antonio Gibson just brings an even bigger element of in the passing game, I think. And I know they were both college receivers. McKissick was too, but I mean, one of them is the future of your franchise and the other isn't. I think at some point you got to get him more involved.
Oh, exactly. Right. But it's also the thing that they're probably just doing it as a change of pace thing as well. A lot of the time, like,
of course,
you don't want to use Antonio Gibson on every down. And so there are certain moments where it just makes sense to play JD McKissick. It's similar to, I guess, how the Browns, not really similar, but kind of similar to how the Browns use Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb as just kind of a rotation piece. You play the hot hand, and I think we all know JD McKissick isn't the future of this organization, but if he's providing good enough quality for them right now, like, you might as well just keep throwing him out there when he's needed.
Yeah, he definitely has his role on the team. One last prop bet that I do have listed here, and it's another flyer. Michael Gallup plus 250 to score a touchdown. I know Gallup hasn't been that good this year, and Andy Dalton doesn't seem to like him, at least not as much as he likes CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. But for some reason, to me, and this is why it's a flyer, it's just really a gut feeling that he seems the likeliest to score a touchdown in this game. He's obviously that big play threat, down the field, and he can also be used in the red zone. So if you're looking for a flyer with that plus 250, I would go in that direction. Gallup touchdown.
Yeah, that definitely is a nice little dart throw there. And if it hits, man, it adds a nice little thing to your parlay at plus 250. Caleb, did you have any bet that you wanted to throw in here?
Yeah, just one prop bet I wanted to throw out there that I just noticed on the website now is Andy Dalton under passing yards, and the number is 248.5. I think this could be a good number to hit because in a game last week against a Vikings defense that has been struggling a little bit, where his offensive line had probably one of their better games of the season, Dalton only managed to put up 203 passing yards. So I think against a Washington defense that's extremely strong in both the pass rush and in just man-to-man coverage and zone defenses, hitting the under on 248.5 could be a decent add to a player parlay.
That's a great point.
And especially if you're a viewer that has a feeling that Washington's going to shut this team down, right? Like, if you're on the other side of the coin of what Aiden was saying, that, the Cowboys are going to be playing from behind. Well, if you think that they're not going to be playing from behind, then yeah, it's something definitely to look into. And so 2 games of football tomorrow. Pretty exciting stuff. Whenever the Thanksgiving stuff comes by, I know we all wish we could have had that Baltimore Steelers game, but unfortunately, the COVID and football gods looked down and said, no, sir, you are not getting that on a Thursday. So thank you, everyone, very much for listening. Unless either of you two guys have anything to add here.
No.
I think that's it. I will say I am excited for that Steelers-Ravens game when it finally rolls around. A little bit disappointing that we didn't get to see it tomorrow, but otherwise, yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, and thank you both for coming on. And we'll of course be doing more football previews as we go along, and check out our basketball videos as well. We've been doing quite well with our basketball videos, and our bets have been working out well, Aiden. So far this year, we've had a lot of hits this year. So keep listening, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks a lot. See ya.
See you guys.